we are going to begin the first batch of this afternoon's MURTalk sessions. My name is Tom Kaiser, and I am moderating all of the conversations up here, which have been generously sponsored by Byte. So thank you very much to the Byte crew for making this happen. So we are going to start with MTech Mobility before speaking with Altimetrics and Acumera just after that. So we're going to roll with 3 sessions back to back. And so without further ado, I am grateful to be joined here by MTech CEO and President Tony Fernandez. He has warned me that he might be throwing a tablet off stage if last year's Innovation of the Year presentation is any indication. So I've got my cell phone far away from you, if you don't mind.
But I didn't bring my tablet today, but got into a lot of trouble last year throwing a tablet 28 feet in the air and not breaking. So
you got to do what you got to do to be memorable, right?
We've been bashing some tablets back there. I'm sure people have been hearing it. So.
Well, for this conversation, which we're calling Balance Tech and Operations and Avoiding the Pitfalls, we want to focus on tangible ways that all of you in your brands of any size in the industry can make long-term decisions, set your brand up for maximum flexibility as the tech side of the industry continues to evolve, and avoid being locked into previous technology decisions going forward. I think that's a pretty wise strategy from any corner of the industry. And so to set the table a little bit more, Tony, tell us about what MTech does in the restaurant space. I'm not sure I've ever worked with a company quite like yours because you guys do a lot of different things.
Yeah, we're kind of a fish out of water, or however you want to announce us. Especially when we talk to the MURTalk team, we're kind of a unique company because our job basically is a company that takes the solutions that you have, like in this showcase floor, and our job is to really represent the restaurant operator to make the best choice possible. These are all great companies, great software products, great hardware products. We're the solution integration company that actually assists restaurants with putting it all together. We happen to have some great solutions that address some of the challenges that restaurant operators are dealing with today. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that, right, Tom?
Yep.
But overall, the way you look at us is we're an integrator. We represent the operators, we represent you to help you make the best choices in technology and then make sure that your business and your brand objectives are met.
Well, I think that that's a good starting point. And as I alluded to earlier, your company's focus appears to be two-pronged in my eyes, helping restaurant operations connect those disparate tech solutions and build a truly open, flexible ecosystem, but also more tangible things like tablets and pay at the table and things that can make the lives of a server easier and also ideally improve the guest experience as well. So let's start there. Tell us about that side of the business. Shorter table turns, less friction for guests. How big of a part of that is what you guys do at MTech?
Yeah, I mean, today, restaurant operators are challenged every year, every day. It's like every time we come to this show, there's something new that's a big upcoming challenge that the industry is facing. And this year is no different, right, Tom? We've got inflation issues, we've got headwinds, we've got uncertainties in the economy, and operators are feeling that every day, trying to make sure that their brand and their objectives with their brand are met. So what we have found is that a lot of those challenges, whether they're labor challenges, whether they're customer satisfaction challenges, and even the productivity and cost control challenges that restaurants are facing, what we're looking at is finding ways to solve those problems today with real solutions that are available to the operators today. There's a lot of companies in this room that actually have great solutions, but the key is actually bringing them together to solve a specific problem and achieve an outcome. So we happen to have, as a solution integrator, a platform that allows us to bring that together in an environment that doesn't lock in a restaurant operator into making a bad choice. So for us, it's enabling the platform itself to give the flexibility to an operator to choose the right point of sale company, to choose the right loyalty company, or even the ones that they have. They could be legacy solutions that they have to work with and actually help them use the technology that we bring to the table to solve those problems today.
Well, I especially love any restaurant tech company that has a focus on the front of the house. I think that there is space for a lot more of that in our industry, and I think we're really starting to see the rise of that in the last couple of years. You guys work with some really large clients, Bloomin' Brands, IHOP, Applebee's, Outback. I mean, those are just to name a few. I'm wondering, from any of your larger clients, can you point to any stats that show benefits that have come from changes specifically aimed at the front of the house?
Yeah, a lot of the brands that you mentioned have worked with us to implement technology that has an immediate impact. So there are a lot of mobile technologies that you see if you walk the showroom floor. We happen to be partnered for this show with Samsung, and we've built Samsung's mobile point of sale platform, which we call a universal point of sale platform. So the brands that you mentioned have chosen this platform not only because what we consider it's the best platform or hardware technology that's on the market today. As an independent servicer, we could say that. Samsung might not say that, but they do have the best product, and we can say that because we have the data and the statistics to show it. We also have use cases with those brands that you mentioned. They fully deployed in those large enterprise operations. So they're seeing the value of that platform. But what's interesting is that those restaurant brands all have different challenges. They use legacy point of sale systems. They have legacy software applications that they are required to use in their operation. And some of them are trying to transition to more modern environments. So modernizing that workflow, getting that experience, getting that customer and that brand to recognize that, hey, my restaurant can actually reach the level of customer satisfaction that the brand requires, but also that the customer demands. And I'll highlight a couple of them. So we have restaurant groups that have, let's say, more legacy type point of sale systems, like Posi, or environments that are traditional out there in the marketplace, like NCR and Oracle. But there are movements in the point of sale companies that all the restaurants have to worry about. What we're doing is we're working with those companies to actually transition to modernize those environments without having to rip those technologies out. And you have companies that are really transitioning. You have companies like NCR that actually have really made more investments into that point of sale so that it actually works in an open architecture environment. It's very different than where it used to be. And then you have companies like Tray that are actually a company that we use for IHOP. IHOP chose them because of the nature of that application and how it works in their tech stack, and it allows freedom to do the things that they need to do. So again, we focus primarily on the point of sale, but let's not forget loyalty, let's not forget gift cards, let's not forget all the other applications that require a restaurant to work and require the restaurant to meet those objectives. So it's amazing to me to see how what I call the Rubik's Cube of each restaurant is different, and the moves have to be different. So what we've been able to do with some of the brands that you mentioned, as well as smaller brands, actually achieve those goals even with the different point of sale software or the different payment applications, et cetera, that they use.
Well, this is kind of a clunky question, but the goal is simplicity, and a lot of restaurant tech shows over the last few years have been focused on a smaller number of vendors to simplify their operations. But, and I very clearly understand that that's your focus and that's what you guys deliver, but you yourself, you guys are another vendor. And so, that is how I would assume a lot of your engagements begin with new clients, is bringing in simplicity. Is there any contradiction there in bringing another company on board in the name of simplicity? Again, that's maybe a little bit of a clunky question.
Yeah, you would think it's a tough question, but it's actually not. Because from our perspective, we're kind of like NATO in a way. I know NATO doesn't have the best rap lately, but we're kind of like that. So we actually have to work with everybody in here, because ultimately we focus on the operator itself and making sure that the solution that we're building for the operator meets the needs of the operator, and most importantly meets the needs of that brand. Remember, you mentioned some brands that there's some groups that actually have 4 different restaurant brands, and it's different, right? So we're agnostic to the hardware, we're agnostic to the software, we're agnostic, believe it or not, in even the service delivery that we do. But what we have done is we believe that we've chosen some of the best of breeds. We have use cases. One of the things I love the most is we have references. We have CIOs from all these restaurants that we work with that speak on our behalf in regards to the value that we bring as, quote, that other vendor that you're bringing to the table.
Well, that is a very good and clarifying answer to that question. Another element when a restaurant group, especially larger multi-unit operations or multi-brand operations, making a major technology decision, you need buy-in from the executive team as well. And, to make sure that the decisions you're making are better than going all in on a closed proprietary ecosystem. There are on-paper benefits to that. How does that work often when you're working with an executive team and you've got some competing opinions on that topic?
Yeah, it's always a challenge because you've got multiple ways of looking at these problems, right? Some of them can be financial, some of them can be from a marketing standpoint, and some of them actually can be just more strategic. So ultimately, we have to support the operators and the brands at all levels of that. So again, when we think about the solutions that we bring, we try to be agnostic and we try to be universal. The key here is, we have a lot of challenges. We all have challenges. We're all trying to figure it out here. But the answers are not that complex when you ultimately think about the intakes and the outputs of what we're trying to do in the restaurants. So for us, it's making sure that we're advising so that bad decisions aren't made, and even sometimes good decisions are made. But it's actually trying to find the best decision for the moment, making sure that though that decision is strategic. In other words, you take, for example, mobility. We, with Samsung, introduced a universal mobile point of sale platform that works with multiple point of sales. And then now we're extending it, we're announcing at this show, the introduction of a universal payment integration platform. Why are we doing that? Because we want to simplify the tech stack that ultimately needs to be approved. And when you run those solutions back through that operation for the executive approval and financial approval, it's making sure that you can leverage that technology not just for point of sale, not just for taking a payment from a customer, but making sure that it provides flexibility to do it your way, the way your brand needs, and then make sure that that technology can be reused for multiple purposes. Thus improving the ROI and taking an ROI that might take 3 years down to three weeks, because you're actually using that mobile technology for inventory, for catering, for any kind of recipes, communication, documentation. Don't limit yourself in regards to that tech stack, and leverage that tech stack to run the full restaurant operation, not just point of sale.
Well, Tony, I think that's fantastic advice for a show like MURTalk when you're seeing so many new options and new solutions that are out there in the industry, but don't want to just start picking up little bits here and there off the shelf and actually want to have a strategy in place. So thank you very much for sharing your point of view. I sincerely appreciate learning more about you and MTech, and we will be back here in just a moment. But Tony, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you.